Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to provide a solid refutation of Yann Lecun's comments on LLMs. As you may know, Dr. Lecun has given several speeches in the past few months, and in those talks, he made negative comments about LLMs, so I'm going to refute those comments. First, I'd like to make some clarifications. I respect Dr. Lecun as an AI scientist. I respect his achievements and contributions to AI, and I also respect his ongoing project on objective-driven AI systems. This video is solely to refute his comments on LLMs. His overall opinion is that LLMs trained on next token prediction cannot reach human-level intelligence. Interestingly, Ilya also gave some talks where he challenged the claim that next token prediction cannot surpass human performance, and he explained his reasoning. I think it's a really good speech, so I recommend you watch the video. So the first comment that I want to refute is that LLMs are trained only on language. They can only possess knowledge contained in language. We are never going to reach human-level intelligence by training on text. We need systems that truly understand the world through high-bandwidth inputs like vision or touch. First, I don't agree that we can't reach human-level intelligence by training on text, but I'm not going to argue about that. What I will argue is that current LLMs are not trained solely on language. Early LLMs only had a text encoder, that is the tokenizer and the embedding layer. Those two components work together to convert raw text into vectors that can be processed by transformer layers. But LLMs in 2024 have other modalities. For example, Chameleon, which is proposed by FAIR at Meta AI, has a vision encoder with tokenization. So the image patches are tokenized similarly to text tokens. These tokens are then fed to the transformer layers. And Lava also has a vision encoder without tokenization. So the transformer layers directly receive the vector representations of the image patches without converting them to tokens first. Regarding audio modality, models like Moshi have audio encoders with tokenization, so it uses convolutional neural networks and transformers to encode the audio patches into a vector, and then uses a codebook to encode the segment into 7 tokens. And also, as we all know, ChatGPT 4o has vision and audio modalities. We assume that in the future, each modality will have an encoder with or without tokenization. So there is no limitation on that. And we can conclude that there is no modality limitation on LLMs. Okay, on to the next comment. So LLMs have limited knowledge of the underlying reality. They have no common sense, no memory, and they can't plan their answers. So regarding this limited knowledge of the underlying reality, in Ilya's interview, he explained why that's not true. And here I will refute these 3 reasons one by one. Starting with common sense, I searched what is common sense on Wikipedia. It says it is knowledge, judgment, and taste which is more or less universal and which is held more or less without reflection or argument. So I tested ChatGPT 4o with the question: Joe has a strange dog which has 6 legs than a normal dog. How many legs do Joe and his dog have altogether? And it gives the correct answer. The dog has 10 legs, and Joe has 2 legs, so they have 12 legs altogether. So it has the common sense that humans typically have 2 legs, dogs typically have 4 legs, and it knows that 6 plus 4 is 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. And it also assumes that Joe is a human who by default has 2 legs. So this shows that LLMs indeed have common sense, right? Now, here's the question. If I show some examples where LLMs have common sense, and Yann shows some examples where LLMs lacks some common sense, then can he claim that LLMs have no common sense at all? We need to answer this in a scientific context. Then the answer is no. As long as it has some common sense, you can't say it has no common sense. Regarding the claim that LLMs have no memory, I tested a 32B instruct model using the text generation web UI. I told it that my pseudonym is Cosmoness Fellow. Then in the second round, I asked whether it remembered my pseudonym, and it correctly answered that my pseudonym is Cosmoness Fellow. And another example is that I asked when did Yann Lecun win the Turing Award, and it gave the answer in 2018, so that's correct. Then that means LLMs have both long-term memory stored in their parameters and short-term memory in their context. And so it has memory. I would like to say that I agree on the following claim. It is challenging to internalize new experiences or knowledge into its parameters without a large amount of training samples. So I have personal experience with that. I had some conversations with an LLM, and I wanted it to remember the experience with me. So I fine-tuned the model with those conversations, but it couldn't remember the exact details in the conversations. So yes, it's challenging to internalize new experiences into parameters, but this doesn't mean LLMs have no memory. And I believe that in the future, there will be ways to internalize new experiences more easily. Regarding the claim that LLMs cannot plan an answer, I gave it a puzzle. So in the puzzle, there are some conditions. Only one of the 4 people is a thief, and only one of their statements is true. I provided these statements and then asked it to determine who is the thief. And it used an exhaustive case analysis to see in which case all the conditions are satisfied. Then it gave the answer, the thief is A. So it planned out the solution and provided a final answer. Another thing I asked is, I will take my 2-year-old son to visit Denver in May for 5 days, and I want you to make a plan for our stay. And it gave a detailed plan on what we should do in the morning and afternoons, and where we should have lunch and dinner. So I think, and it shows LLMs can make plans. Now let's get back to Yann's comment. He claimed that LLMs have no common sense, no memory, and can't plan for their answers. But we have shown that they have common sense, memory, and can plan answers. And if we can prove even one example to show that they have those abilities, then you cannot claim that they don't have them. Okay? Then the next comment is that a 4-year-old child has seen more data than an LLM. This is one of the major reasons he thinks LLMs cannot reach human-level performance, because they haven't processed as much data as we have. Then imagine this. We compare a GPT with 100 million parameters trained on 20 trillion tokens, and a GPT with 7 billion parameters trained on 2 billion tokens. Which one will perform better? I think most of us would believe the 7 billion parameter GPT will perform better, even though it's trained on only 10% of the training tokens. And if you don't agree, how about I change the first GPT to have 1 million parameters? Do you think that That model trained on 20 trillion tokens can outperform a 7 billion parameter model trained on 2 trillion tokens. So I think it's a fact that training on more data doesn't necessarily mean better performance, because the underlying models are different. And not all data taken in by a human is processed by the brain to increase the intelligence. For example, I walk my dog for 20 minutes every evening. And in those 20 minutes, I see a lot of things, right? And then I have a lot of data coming into my ears and my eyes, then into my brain, but they don't help improve my intelligence. So yeah. Next comment. LLMs are not good for producing factual and consistent answers. They have hallucinations. So I tested ChatGPT for all again. I asked Newton and Einstein who was born earlier. So it gave me the exact dates they were born, and I tried to challenge to see if it could give consistent answer. And it confidently stated that the Newton was born much earlier than Einstein. So it indeed gives factual and consistent answers. On the topic of hallucination, they also exist in human brain, in everyone. I often make mistakes myself, like I think I did something but actually I didn't, or I think someone did something but they actually didn't. Humans hallucinate a lot as well, and hallucinations will always exist. The question is how frequently it happens. So in the past, like during the era of ChatGPT 3.5, that was a significant problem, but the situation is much better with current state-of-the-art LLMs. So basically, I have refuted what I think are the most important comments Yann made on LLMs. And I want to say that I respect Dr. LeCun's research on exploring objective-driven AI systems that are different from the philosophy of LLMs. I think that's a great project. And also, I want to make this comment. Scientists have a responsibility to maintain objectivity, to try to make accurate statements, and to avoid overstatement. Thank you all for watching. I will put the links to some videos I mentioned in the description.